In the midnight glow where the stars align, we lose ourselves in the rhythm divine. Underneath the sky painted with dreams we're chasing.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of As Above, So Within. I am Mari, and my wonderful co-host Jody was not able to join me for this quick intro here. She is off enjoying some much-deserved time away, so I'm just jumping in quick with today's intro. So back in May, we celebrated our podcast 1-year anniversary, and as a part of that celebration, we gave away a free astrology chart reading, and Janey was our lucky winner. And she graciously gave us permission to share her reading with all of you. So we thought it would be fun to give you a behind-the-scenes look at what an astrology reading is really like. And in this case, it was a co-reading with both Jody and myself. And as you listen, remember that every birth chart is unique, and this is a personalized reading just for Janey, but you might hear something that resonates with you as well. And another thing to note, Janey was having some internet issues the day we recorded, so we did have to cut certain sections out. There was more to the reading than what you're going to hear today, but we did have to do a bit of creative editing on this one in order to cut out any parts that might have been choppy or skipping words, etc. So if you hear us talking a lot in the beginning and Janey not really responding, remember too, we were on video, so we got the visual of her smiling and nodding and also some of her speaking back, and in different sections she was speaking back, but it's parts that we just couldn't include simply because of audio quality. And we also made sure to keep any personal information of Janey's out of the podcast in order to honor her privacy. Speaking of audio, we continue to have audio issues, so if any of you are professionals in this area, we definitely could use some help in trying to figure out how to regulate our audio. Even this intro, I feel like comes out different sounding than the rest of the podcast. And Jody did have to go in and edit a few things to splice in so the audio changes. You'll hear that right in the beginning as she's speaking. And we apologize. I desperately wish that our audio quality matched the quality of what I believe this work is, but we are still a work in progress when it comes to the technical side of things. Anyway, we really hope you enjoy today's episode and hope that you get a little something out of our reading with Janey.
Typically, I start with the sun, moon, and rising. So that's what we're going to do today. Just an overall theme of your birth chart, your blueprint that I came up with from looking at everything. It's really just showing that you're here to discover who you are within, not who you are through other people. So this is the theme of your chart. It shows up a lot in the chart, and I'm sure it will come up more. But to break it down, we're going to just start with the rising sign. Your rising sign is in Gemini. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So then Mercury becomes your chart ruler. And Gemini is about communication. They like to talk. I feel like Gemini always gets that stereotypical bad rep for being two-faced, but I'm a Gemini. I'm just going to throw that out there. So I'm a little partial. I think Geminis can just always see both sides of things. We can see each person's perspective and their side. So if you're talking to one person about how they love the color blue, you're like, oh yeah, I get that. I really like the color blue. And somebody else who loves the color red. And you're like, oh yeah, I get that. I like red too. Gemini can just be very unbiased. They can see both sides of everything. Or anything you want to add in on Gemini rising?
Yeah, and for you, that's how you greet the world. Your rising sign is the thing that people will notice about you first. It is your first appearance into a space, comes with that Gemini sort of lens. And I think that I love a Gemini rising. I love Gemini in general because Joni is one of my besties. But it is a very social, open, curious rising sign, which means when you greet people automatically feel like you're interested in them and interested in life and just really open and amiable. But also the gifts that come with that, you're very observant, you notice patterns, and yeah, people definitely experience you as intelligent, thoughtful, adaptable, youthful, often comes with that as well. Yeah, and I don't know, Jody, do you want us to go a little more into Mercury as the ruler of the chart, or should we just keep going and come back to that?
Yeah, if you have anything you want to throw that down.
Yeah, I mean, I have Mercury. So the chart ruler is the planet that rules the sign of your rising. So it tells us more about you, and there's an extra potency to the chart ruler whatever that happens to be, because your rising is a fairly important thing, even though people really focus on their sun sign. Our rising is also quite potent because it rules our first house of self. And for you, your chart ruler is Mercury up here in Pisces in the 9th house, fairly close to the midheaven. So your voice really matters. Your ideas matter. People benefit from your perspective. So whether it's through writing, teaching, drawing, design, mentoring, just explaining concepts, or just thoughtful communication, your career is deeply connected to your mind. And I know that you work as a drawing technician, which I'm not 100% sure what all is involved in that job, but I do think there is some artistry involved. If it's some sort of, it's probably right brain and left brain both together, if I'm imagining what that job is, right? Would that be?
100%.
Okay, great. So to me, this makes a lot of sense for you with your midheaven being Pisces and the Mercury. And we'll talk a little more about career later. Right now, I was just focusing mostly on the Mercury as your rising ruler. And there's an artistry to Pisces. So there's a creativity and a kind of an out of the box thinking and imagination there. So there's that art piece, but also we're talking about the mind and, in the 9th house, which is more left brain. So it really is, your mind really can hold both that art and logic together. So yeah, that's kind of what I had about and this is a strong planet in your chart because it is the chart ruler.
Yeah. The only other thing I would add to that chart ruler, just talking about that Mercury and Pisces, and then having this little blue line here to Chiron, this suggests your lessons that you learn in life and your wisdom that you pick up through your own journey and the things that you learn would be something that you could teach and share with others through your trials and tribulations, through the work that you've done, really, because that Chiron we haven't talked about yet, but we will in a little bit because that's the wounded healer. So they're connected too. So kind of like this dance, you go from the rising sign up to the chart ruler, which is Mercury, and then over to Chiron because they are talking to each other.
Yeah. And we're going to get to that again later, but we talk about the wounded healer, Chiron. Often our greatest wounds are our greatest gifts to the world. As we begin to heal, we are then able to see others in that same way and help. And for you, that's tied directly in with who you are out in the world and your career, which is a really beautiful, beautiful gift, honestly.
Okay, next we have your sun sign, which is in Aries. Aries is a leader. It's in your 10th house. So the 10th house is your career house. Aries is courageous. It's very intuitive. It's all about new beginnings, starting things, creating new things. I would venture to guess you're not afraid to just create your own path, blaze your own trail. So Aries is fire, Gemini is air, and then you also have a Libra moon, which is air. So these all play very well together. I mean, you have fire and air. Air feeds fire. It's just a great combination for your sun, moon, and rising, which is called your big three. They all work very well together. And we don't always see this. Some people have more of an internal struggle with your rising sign is like Mari said, how people see you when they meet you and ask you where to the world. Your sun is who you are, how you shine in the world. And then our moon is our emotions. Having these all play nice with each other is very beneficial to you. And the fact that your sun, how you shine, they say your ego, your personality in the 10th house of career, legacy, what legacy you want to leave behind. That indicates that that's very important to you. Anything else you want to add there, Mari?
Yeah, spot on. I just see Aries in the 10th house in particular, which is the house of your career, your vocation, and your contribution in the world. With that Aries there, you're definitely going to want your career to have some flexibility for self-expression, some way in which you can make it yours, because this Aries is all about identity. So it's showing up very authentically as yourself, and you have a strong drive and energy that you can pour into your work and career here. So people probably see you as assertive, but very authentic to who you are. Just, you show up as you are out in the world, really not a lot of filter here. But this Gemini rising gives it a little bit of more softness and not just here I am, it's all about me, but also I'm curious about you, right? I'm going to be authentic, but I'm also curious about you. So there's a softening of that pure boldness there.
And I know we're going to go into the moon next, but you were born almost under a full moon, within just a few degrees shy. You have a 10-degree sun and a 7-degree Libra moon. So fire and air do go well together, but you do have a little bit of a push-pull between your outer world wanting this full, authentic energy to be out in the world, and yet your emotional inner world is very relational and compassionate and desires home and safety and all of those things. So there is a bit of a push-pull energy between your internal world and that sort of external drive. And all this is really asking for is for balance, and for you to balance all of that drive you have in your career with allowing yourself some softness and relational warmth in your life and making your home feel like a safe place to land. What do you think, Jody? Do you have anything to add to that, or do you just want to jump into the moon since we're headed there already?
Yeah, no, that all applies. Yeah, because the moon for sure in Libra is in opposition to Aries. So like Mari mentioned, it is here for balance. The Libra moon really likes balance, harmony, peace, meaningful relationships, and that's like your comfort. And then anytime I see the moon in the fourth house, I always think, okay, your home is like your sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
Your home is where you go to decompress, feel safe, recharge. Would you say this is true?
From the three areas that you discussed thus far, I most identify with the characteristics of the moon, of the Libra, not so much the assertiveness of the Aries. And I'm not such a people's person. I maybe become an introvert over life's experiences, but I most strongly identify with the characteristics of my moon sign, the Libra moon. I'm a beginner at astrology, so if I use incorrect terminology, apologies to everybody.
Do not apologize, and that makes perfect sense. And actually, as I reflect on that, because our moon is so innate, and it is really our inner child expression and our inner child needs and how they were or were not met. And if we've gone through a lot of emotional things in our life, which, we're not going to get into a lot of detail, but you did give some wonderful answers that gave us some context around who you are in your life and what you've been through. You've absolutely experienced some very heavy and emotional things in your life, and still are. And I imagine that really highlights your moon and makes that feel more encompassing and less balanced with your other, well, when we're just talking about the big three, your other sort of more personal expression planets and rising, because your emotions have been touched in so many ways throughout your life that it's that tender heart that is emotionally going through it over and over again. And so I imagine that really highlights that area, and that inner child just wants to feel safe and at peace and held by family and home. And there's that longing there. And I think that really highlights it because of your life experiences.
And as I'm sure you probably are learning as you're learning astrology, there's so many layers to it. And so when we do readings like this and we kind of chunk it down for people, we take into account your big three, because that can tell you a lot about a chart. But then just giving you a little overview, the other things that we look at in your chart is you also have 6 of your planets were in retrograde when you were born. So what that means is you are very internal. You're an internal person. So even though you have that bold, brave Aries sun, you have a lot of other energy that kind of pulls you inward. So that can kind of dim down that boldness a little bit. And then also you have more planets under the horizon. So if you think of this line right here where the arrow is across, this is the horizon when you were born. And if you look at how many planets are below the horizon and how many are above the horizon, this can give an indicator of whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, and you have more below. So that would definitely give you another layer of that more internal energy that you're feeling. Our chart it's here for us to see that overview, that big picture blueprint of our potential. So I think we go through life and we do all the work till we learn the lessons, and sometimes we have to do the hard stuff to get to that spot where we can really allow ourselves to shine.
And I was just going to add another layer to what Jody was saying, in that what we were talking about with the Gemini rising, how you greet the world and how people see you, and then your sun being in the 10th house out in the world or in your career. it seemed like we were talking about how you relate to others in both of those instances and in relational ways. If we look at your relationship planet and your relationship house, it tells us more about how you relate to others too, which adds another layer. So your Venus in the 12th house is definitely more of an introverted relational person. And then you have kind of a reciprocity here with Neptune in the 7th house of relationship, which adds that sort of more internal feeling state versus just super extroverted expression. So to me, this adds a layer about relationships. So it makes sense to me that you feel less of the Aries boldness when it comes to maybe being assertive within relationships. But I bet you're assertive within your projects. I bet you have like a drive to go, I want this to be excellent. I want to put myself into it. But that doesn't mean I'm going to be like, blah, 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 super social with all the people necessarily I work with. But definitely driven to do excellent work and to show yourself through that work. And then the rising, I think, again, it's so hard for us to relate to our rising because we don't really feel like our rising, but others see you in that way. Because even if you're not feeling that extroverted, you might even be internally going like, I don't really want to be in this social situation. I'm feeling awkward right now. But others would see you as warm and curious and adaptable, and you're probably doing a really good job in your socializing, but inside you're just like, I might just want to be home instead of being here right now. So it makes perfect sense to me. I mean, again, that's why astrology is so beautiful, is because it's so specific to you. It's so multi-layered. If we just looked at the sun in the 10th house in Aries and described it by itself, you go like, yeah, I don't really feel like that's me. But now we have all of these other things to give context to that.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, great. And then next I had Mercury, but we kind of talked about that already with the chart ruler.
But again, because it's in Pisces, even with your communication, you're processing so much internally with that Pisces Mercury that you might not feel like you're communicating clearly. You might not feel like people quite understand because you're doing so much internally and with your imagination and trying to put it into words that sometimes you might feel like, I don't know, did I get my point across? But you do have such a beautiful, creative, imaginative mind, which I think serves you really well in what you do.
Okay. Do we want Venus next? We kind of talked about Venus in the 12th house.
Yeah, let's go into that.
A little bit.
Talk about relationships a little bit.
Yeah, so Venus in the 12th house. Again, 12th house is that more internal spiritual house. I think anybody with 12th house placements or any planets in the 12th house need that time to be home and reboot, time alone. I like people, I like being around people, but I now need to go home and be comfortable.
Nailed it.
Yeah. And then in Taurus again is ruled by Venus. So back to those comforts of the home. Taurus is very gentle and appreciative. They love beautiful things. They love nature. They love the comforts. I always think of like the taste, touch, feel, smell, hear, all the five senses. Taurus really loves all those comforts. So Taurus is really about that security and that stability.
And safety too, like you said, there's definitely a desire for safety within relationship, to feel like your partner is home to you. But here with the 12th house placement, I would say that sometimes, I don't even know if I would call it a gift or a shadow, because it can be both. The gift of it is you love with your whole heart, but sometimes it's easy for you to over-sacrifice yourself or to over-give, to just give everything you have in relationship, even if it's not reciprocated, because it's hard for you to see boundaries and you have this sort of boundless love. And so this can be very self-sacrificing if you're not aware of that, right? That's why, again, astrology can be so helpful to bring that into our awareness. So when entering into relationship, to really protect yourself in that I have this great big heart and I want to give you everything, but until I fully know I can trust, to keep healthy boundaries and keep my heart safe as well. But relationships are going to be, and probably have been, some of your most profound spiritual teachers in life, particularly because you have an opposition here to Uranus and Scorpio in the 6th. So relationships for you become catalysts for your awakening. You might experience sudden beginnings, intense feelings for someone, and then sudden endings with this. This is relational intensity, I think, in a lot of ways with this opposition. And this is something that your soul signed up for in this lifetime in order to learn through relationship, to learn yourself,
to learn what healthy boundaries are, self-respect, honoring yourself, and also learning how to trust, but choosing that wisely, using your discernment to trust another instead of just fully abandoning yourself into the relationship without that discernment. Yeah. So it's important for you to have freedom and autonomy within relationship too, not lose yourself so completely to the other. Or oftentimes too, this Venus in the 12th can want to become so much like the other to please the other person. You lose your sense of self. I'm guilty of this. I'm so into this person that now I'm into everything they're into. I like their hobbies and their interests and their friends. I've started to lose my sense of who I am because I'm just morphing into this other person. Just all things to hold in your awareness when entering into relationship, because your heart longs for long-lasting, committed love that brings you closer to yourself, to your own spirit, and where you feel safe and held. So yeah, self-respect, honor your self-worth and your boundaries for sure.
Yeah, I love all that. That's great stuff. I think of Venus in the 12th house as kind of like blinders. A shadow aspect of it can be, because you can have this almost fairy tale, I'm going to say blurred boundaries, like was mentioned, and then also this fairy tale fantasy kind of expectation. And then sometimes when people show us who they are, we don't see it because, again, we have those blinders on.
The hopeless romantic. It's the signature of the hopeless romantic, for sure. Well, and you have Neptune in the 7th house, which, again, it's saying the same story twice almost here. This is the hopeless romantic. And also, again, it's a gift and a shadow, both. It's both. It depends on how you see it and how you use it, because the gift is you see people's soul. You see their highest potential. You see the full beauty of who that soul is. But that's all you see sometimes, instead of seeing the reality of who that person is, instead of who they are today and where they're at in their evolution today matters a lot for how that relationship is going to go and how safe you feel and how trustworthy they are. And yet you just see the pure raw potential beauty of their soul and you fall in love with that. And what a gift to them, but also you have to pull back and have that awareness of, okay, but who they are today, because we can't assume anyone will ever change. We hope and pray that they will evolve and change over time. But when we commit in relationship, we commit to the person they are today, not the potential of their soul. And so, again, I speak from experience here because I have a very similar relationship signature. So I feel you, girl.
Yeah. Everything you said regarding the relationship, 12th house, the way I view the world is 100% correct. And it is, like you said, it's a true gift to the recipient, but to be the giver, it's extremely painful and it is a really heavy gift or shadow to actually endure. I actually have given up, to be honest. I've just given up. It's been a few years now since I've not even went on a copy date, because I figured that every opportunity I do give to somebody, which is far and few between, I always end up with like the short end of the stick. So I figured that it's a pattern in the cycle, and the only way to break the cycle is to not allow the universe the opportunity to sell to me again for making the mistake of allowing somebody new in. So that's where I am now. I'm not sure if I will evolve from here and forget the pain and trauma and be silly enough to try again. But it's about 5 or 6 years now and I'm holding strong. Nobody knew, no one near me. I can't do this anymore.
Well, yeah. Go ahead, Jody. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, it can be the blessing and the curse of our chart is we can see a lot in there. It can really help you recognize things too. And I too have had some hard lessons in relationships. And I've learned that they were put there for a reason. We had a lesson that we agreed to come to this earth at this time to learn. And sometimes I'm not sure why either. But once you learn it and you get through it, then you get to level up. I've learned that working on yourself, because when you work on yourself and you do the work for you, then you're going to attract completely different people. So when we are putting out that energy of self-sacrificing love, I mean, love is meant to be reciprocated and like a partnership, balanced, a give and a take. And sometimes you're the one doing all the giving.
and the other person is just taking. So when you work on yourself and do what it sounds like you're doing now, you will give off different energy. So then you're going to attract different people. And sometimes we have those hard lessons. We are more aware and those blinders come off. And then you see the red flags. Like you see the things that maybe in the past you just didn't notice or didn't recognize or didn't do anything about. And now you're in a place where you can see those and recognize them. And then we don't tolerate those any longer. So then you're not going to attract that same kind of person because you're putting off different energies. So you're going to be able to bring in people with different energies. So I would highly encourage you to not give up because there are wonderful people out there.
Yes. Yes, Jody. That is very much where I was going to head with my comment too, is like, oh my gosh, my heart goes out to you. And I love the humor. I love that you were laughing kind of as you were talking about it, because that gives me a glimpse into who you are and being able to kind of laugh at. Because the truth is, to be able to find humor in some of the things that have been hardest for us it's alchemy. It's alchemy. You're alchemizing that pain as you go, as you heal, and being able to kind of look back and laugh at it, I think is a gift. But also, I was going to echo what Jody said, and I wouldn't completely give up. And as much as adorable that you said that the universe clobbered you with these relationship, I think, again, to be able to reframe that, it's the universe in co-creation with you, and what your soul desired to learn in this life did bring some catalytic relationships into your life in order to learn something. And so as you change, as you grow, like Jody said, your vibration begins to change. What you are drawing to you as you heal, as you understand, as you bring this into your awareness. Oh, this is a pattern I have. Oh, this is something that happens. Okay, now I'm self-aware. That's part of the lesson. That tells me you are doing it. You're doing what your soul signed up for. But I don't see in this chart where your soul says you don't get to be in love and have a happy and safe relationship. That's not what this says. It just says you're learning through this. We evolve, we grow. And as you grow, you draw in different people to you. And you are so much more self-aware when someone comes into your life. You're discerning, you're more discerning. And I just don't see from everything that you've told us that you would put up with or allow that type of treatment in the future if you did give someone a shot, right? Because you've got the blinders off now because you've learned the hard way, but that's what we do here on planet Earth. We tend to learn the hard way because that's the way this universe is set up, the one that we're currently in, and we chose it. And so in a way, this is a gift to you in learning how to alchemize that pattern within relationship. Yeah. And all the beauty you have to give in relationship, all that big, tender, wonderful, loving heart, like what a gift. And so I would say, please don't give up. But also you're putting off a very different energy too of like, I'm not seeking, I'm not looking. Because the moment we're desperate for a relationship, that desperation has a vibration too. But you are so solid in who you are and you're like, girl is independent, not looking for anybody, right? And that is magnetic. Magnetic. I would be shocked if you don't have interest because that vibration she is solid. Like that draws people in. So if someone does come along into your life, which I imagine they will, again, just have that discernment on the forefront. And instead of going automatically, every relationship I ever have, this is the pattern that happens, go, no, that was the pattern. Past tense. I do not claim this for my future. I do not claim this into my now. I learned from those patterns. And for the future, I claim something healthy, something safe, something beautiful. Yeah? Does that make sense?
Good stuff. Love that. I love that. Okay, Mars?
Yeah.
Let's do Mars. Mars and Leo. I love Mars and Leo. Yours is retrograde. So what this means is, again, it's more internal. Leo is fire. Leo is very creative. They have great enthusiasm, courage. It's in your third house, which is the house of communication, teaching, storytelling, sharing ideas. So again, that Mars is really something that can be fierce, for sure. Again, yours is retrograde, so it's internal. Mars is our motivation, it's our drive. And for you, you are working on that more internally than people may see on the outside. But I just love Mars and Leo because I think it's a great, powerful Mars. It's ruled by Aries, which is another fire element. And it's just something that you can really harness and pull in and use when needed. Mars can also be our anger and how we react when we are upset. And again, it's fire. So it's going to be more fiery probably, but you might hold this in more, but it's in the third house. So maybe you want to talk it out when you're upset about something. And so it all plays out a little bit differently for everybody, but really it's just more about as you grow your confidence and we get steadier and wiser. I always say wiser because, I mean, if you think of yourself now and then you think of your 20-year-old self.
20-year-old me, I was fearless and I'm not afraid of conflict. And I tell you what I was thinking and I wouldn't worry about consequences. But I really mellowed out since then. I consider the other person's perspective and more respectful when I speak. It takes a lot to push me over the edge where I lose control. But it's been a process. It's been a lot of work. I've had to work on that short, bad temper. I didn't like that version of me. And I actually only recognized it in my mid-20s. And I'm still a work in progress. But in the last 5 or 6 years, I've either grown more or I just haven't been in a relationship. So I haven't been tested as much to see my true progress.
You are also blessed with Jupiter conjunct, so right next to your Mars. Jupiter is the planet of luck and expansion, but it expands anything it touches. So that fiery Leo Mars anchor is expanded with Jupiter. That makes perfect sense that you felt that more and you expressed that more when you were younger. And so you would say within the last 5 years, you think that shifted for you?
Yes, I would say so.
Yeah, and because of the Leo signature too, I think as we mature and evolve into the higher expressions of these placements and signs, instead of letting just the fire out, as you evolve, you express from the heart, because Leo is very heart driven and it is playful, joyful, self-expressive, creative, and very courageous and heart-led. And so maybe less just speaking from the flames and the fire. You are an Aries sun as well, so makes sense, right? There's a lot of fire there. And your Mars is in fire. But Leo speaks from the heart. So as it evolves, I could see you expressing it in a more heart-led way versus just straight up temper way, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Leo really wants to be appreciated. And I don't mean that, I know sometimes it can be taken in like an egotistical way for Leo, but that's not really how Leos are. They do lead with their heart. They have huge hearts. They love deeply and they just want to be acknowledged and appreciated.
Seen, just like seen for who they are, which is not egotistical in its highest expression. It's just, I'm expressing myself authentically and I just want to be acknowledged for that and seen for that, because you give that same thing to others, right? Like anyone who has strong Leo placements sees other people, their authenticity, and appreciates them for who they are. And it's just asking for reciprocity and more of that in the world. Leos just want to see more of that in the world. More people being themselves and honoring that within each other, which truly is what the world needs most, is each of us embodying that true essence. Yeah, that to me is Leo. It's not this like egotistical, tell me I'm beautiful. Although in the shadow it could be, right? But that's not the highest expression of it. That's not the point at all. Yeah. Actually, because we're here, do you mind if I jump in?
Do you want to talk about it? No.
Yeah, let's talk about, I'm going to talk about your nodal story, because that's kind of my forte. I don't know if you've listened to the episode that we did, about a year ago about the nodes, but we're going to talk about the nodes of the moon. That's these two horseshoe looking guys here. And this is in evolutionary astrology, what we call the soul story. And the upside down looking horseshoe is the south node, which you have in Aquarius here. Your north node is in Leo in the third house. We've got Mars and Jupiter on either side, sandwiching it in there. And you have this really interesting pattern in your chart, which we can go into this pattern a little bit more later too, which is called a grand cross, this square that you see here. And it involves your nodal story, because this relationship pattern that we already touched on between the 12th and the 6th, your Venus, Uranus, tie in very much to your nodal story. So let's just start talking about the south node. So this is who you come into this life as, your internal operating system. If you are someone who believes in past lives, it is the expression of past lives, a past life or many past lives that you've lived in this energy. And the ruler of the South Node tells us more. Your ruler happens to be Uranus in Scorpio in the 6th, which is in a square to it. So this tells me that you spent lifetimes in ultimately a deep amount of self-sacrifice, which mirrors itself again in relationship, right? Like very giving of self, working extremely hard for a cause that you believed in or for the people around you. There was not a lot of room here for self-expression, for creativity, for joy, for play, for curiosity. It was just a lot of, self-sacrifice is the best word I can use. And I even kind of jokingly say that sometimes people with a South Node in Aquarius, depending on the other parts of their chart, but I jokingly say, like, this person sometimes feels like they were born tired. They came into life and were already tired because they have given and served so much. And yet there's still this feeling of, I still need to give and I still need to serve, which you will always have. You have the incredible gifts of your South Node forever, but your soul is gently calling you towards balance between the South and the North Node. And for you, that North Node is in Leo in the 3rd house, which is all about curiosity and self-exploration and self-expression and playfulness and joy and who am I and how do I want to be and what are my interests? And it doesn't have to be all about work and service and self-sacrifice in this life. It is about balancing and finding your own joy. And with the South Node in Aquarius, you probably already entered life feeling comfortable observing from a distance, looking at the big picture, living in your ideas, learning from systems, remaining objective. This can sometimes express as closing off your emotions and closing yourself off because it's all just too much, right? So that can be, especially because of this relationship piece here, falling back into the South Node is that self-protection going like, I don't have time for it. I can't feel it. It's too much. I can't open my heart because I've been hurt and I've given and I've been hurt. And when something is in square to the nodes, in evolutionary astrology in particular, we say this is the first thing that needs to be addressed before you can learn to embrace your North Node. And for you, that's that relationship piece. The North Node is, again, so heart-led for you. It's Leo. It's open-hearted. But in order to get it to a place of softness, open-hearted, and curiosity, you have to be able to understand what's happening for you in relationship and zoom out, see the big picture and understand what this pattern is trying to teach you about your self-worth, your self-respect. I can remain open-hearted, but with discernment. I can be eyes wide open, blinders off, set aside the hopeless romantic and go into, I'm still a romantic, but I'm a romantic with discernment, with eyes wide open, with clarity. I know my worth. I know how I want to be treated, how I deserve to be treated, and I will settle for nothing less. But when someone comes along who is that, and this is not necessarily just romantic because we're talking about your 12th house and 6th house here. So it can be any kind of relationship. This could be friendships too. Sometimes maybe friendships have hurt you too. But whether romantic, friendship, or family, all of it, any relationship, it's learning that healthy boundary for yourself and that self-respect, but still leaving your heart open to possibility for those that are deserving. And that takes you straight into that North Node of open-hearted, joyful curiosity. Sometimes too, the shadow of this South Node in particular can feel like it needs the right answer. I need to know the right answer. I have to have it figured out. I have to have it together. The 3rd house encourages more openness of like, you know what? If I don't have all the answers, that's okay. I'm here to play. I'm here to explore this life and learn from others and just get curious and lighten up, I guess is like one way that I would put it. Just find some lightness and joy. And in order to get there, understanding this balance around relationships is a key piece first. And then Jupiter conjunct your North Node here as well is such a beautiful gift. When you follow the whisper and call of your soul to move towards your authentic purpose, opportunities often expand in your life. So the less rigid and tight and held and protected you become as you trust yourself and honor yourself and become more open, more opportunity flows, more life flows into your world. And so you may not always recognize those opportunities immediately, but your chart suggests that following your curiosity and continuing to learn opens doors in your life.
Something that you said about the South Node has stood out to me. You said that it's predominantly because I'm so much on my own. I don't have parents to caregive to. I do not have kids to take care of. I don't have a husband. I don't live with any siblings. Do you think this life is maybe trying to balance out where I never maybe had time for myself because they're so busy serving everyone else?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. And I'm going to say yes, because I believe, based on your nodal story, that a lot of this life is about learning to choose some things for yourself and to have time with yourself, to self-explore. I do not think, though, that it means purely isolation. Does it mean periods of time just with yourself in your life? Absolutely, yes. Because how else do you really get to self-explore unless you are on your own? And especially with your Venus in Taurus in the 12th, there's definitely that inner work that you're doing, that going within and understanding yourself from a soul perspective, from your heart. Like, who am I? Not with outside obligation and outside expectation and what other people put on me and so on and so forth. So yes, but it doesn't mean that you need to be in isolation. Actually, part of your evolutionary growth within relationship, ultimately, the highest expression of relationship for you is relationships that bring meaning, purpose, and a higher connection to your spiritual self. With your Neptune in the 7th here in Sagittarius, relationships ultimately bring you to understanding the world more and yourself more and your spirit more and what true meaning is. And the bigger perspective of all of that, that is the ultimate gift for you within relationship. But there's a growth pattern that we walk through throughout our life. And periods of isolation may be part of it, simply so that you get to know yourself on a really deep level and can explore all of that and really, really know thyself, right? So you can come in fully authentic, not just conforming to what they want and what they need, but I know who I am. I'm solid in who I am. I love who I am. And I've taken the time to do so that I can bring in healthy relationship where we can grow together, build meaning together, and honor each other's heart and soul.
Thank you for that.
So, Janey, I'm just curious, like, do you see this in your friendships also?
So I have a few close friends, but when I say close, these are people that I would sometimes see once or twice in a year, but I am there if they need me, but I'm not a very in your face, every day, gotta video call you, call every week to check in kind of a thing. So the people that are still in my life have basically grown with me over all the different versions of me. And we've reached that stage where the friendship is strong enough not to need that constant interaction. I, over the years, have become more isolated and more introverted, and I just feel like if you deal with people in teaspoons, there's less drama, there's less room for them to disappoint you. It could be like a protective mechanism for myself because I value peace and stability and calmness, and there's no place like home. It's just quiet and my house is comfortable and it's tidy, and I'm at my happiest and at my best when I'm home on my own with my books and my podcast, and I'm just in my happy place. So when I do need to interact with friends, family, whoever, I don't like to get too involved, even if I love you with my whole heart and you've been my friend for 20 years.
Yeah, I see that echoed absolutely with your relationship stuff as a key part of healthy relationship for you. You do need your freedom, you need your space, and you need your alone time. I see that in multiple places here. So knowing that about yourself is really healthy too. Even if romantic relationship comes into your life again and you end up sharing the home, that beautiful safe space that you have, your partner will definitely need to understand that you need your alone time, you need your freedom and your autonomy, and to honor that and give you that no matter what, and that they have their own life where they go adventuring and have their own space, right? I think your soul is looking for someone who is very secure in themselves
so that they can give you that space. And they're off on their adventure doing their thing while you do your thing. And then you come back together and have your time together too. But it has to have that balance of your own space, your autonomy, your own time, because that's where you reconnect back in with your soul. You've got Venus in the 12th is very strong for that. And then Neptune, obviously, and the Sagittarius piece here in the 7th.
Yeah. And I think, again, as we get older, and I like to say wiser, I think our friend circles just become smaller because you don't want the drama. And unfortunately, with some people, there can be a lot of that. So then it's okay to choose to not put energy into those relationships. Yeah. And the only other thing I wanted to say with the nodal story and the Leo and Venus and Uranus, like all of that just speaks. Going through this yourself and learning the lessons and making the changes and then sharing this story. Leo, speaking, sharing from the heart what you've learned can make a huge difference for others and also for you. I mean, that again goes back to helping you level up in this lifetime.
Yeah, great observation. Yeah, definitely. The things that we learn the hard way often become our area of greatest strength and greatest teaching and help for others too. So I'm sure if you have friends who have gone through anything similar, that your heart goes out to them and you can be there for them in support and sharing your own experiences.
Do we want to jump to Saturn? We haven't really talked about
I was just
Saturn.
thinking that. Yep. I've got a section kind of on home and foundations. So yeah, you jump in, Jody, go for it.
Saturn is right here in your 4th house in Virgo. And Saturn's kind of a big player in our chart, something that we look at. I looked up your Saturn return. So what that is every day the planets are continue to transit around our chart. And so when Saturn goes all the way around and comes back to your natal Saturn, which is usually between the ages of 28 and 30, and I believe yours happened in August of 2009, somewhere around there. So it can kind of get close and then retrograde and come back. So you can feel it maybe within a year. I don't know if there's anything that happened around, I guess I would really say anywhere between 2008, 2009 that sticks out to you, which would be called your Saturn return. So typically what people say for their Saturn return is you started a job, you lost a job, you got married, you had a baby, you got divorced, a parent died, something like that. Is there anything?
Yes, the thing with Saturn and around the time frame that you gave me, from the end of 2009, I'd go like to the New Year's Eve into New Year's Day. I went through my first big disillusionment and I was very upset with God, and I was a vegetarian for religious purposes. And therefore, I also believe in the past lives and stuff like that. And I just felt like I do everything right and I always get a negative outcome. I can be the best person, do everything to the book, and it doesn't matter what I do, the outcome is always unfavorable based on the fact that you got to interact with somebody else. And if I'm doing everything right and you're doing everything wrong, it's not going to work. So that was my first real, where my faith was starting to step a little. And I actually was so upset with God that I said, I'm even a vegetarian and I read the Bhagavad Gita and I do chanting on the beads and I do everything that's required of me. And yet I still feel like I'm being punished all the time. And then I just went into 2010 as a non-vegetarian. I decided to let that phase of my life end and I have not gone back.
Yeah.
I don't know if it ties into what you asked me.
Yes, for sure. Saturn in Virgo. Virgo is very body related. So thinking about your food and it's all about service. Virgo can be very, again, self-sacrificing and also very, very hard on yourself. I think a lesson for Virgo and Saturn being in Virgo is to, sometimes that can feel really heavy. So I always take a breath and I think, okay, just give yourself a break. And Saturn in your 4th house is an indicator that maybe when you were a child, did you have to be responsible? And did you have a lot of responsibilities in the house?
Both my parents worked and I was in charge of the home and my little brother from the age of 12. I've taken responsibility of cooking, the household chore, my schoolwork, looking out for my little brother. And I basically raised it because my parents left in the dark in the morning and then they come home at night. And so I always feel like I didn't really have a childhood and didn't really get to be a teenager. And I think that is why I feel like I take life too seriously. I'm like a very responsible person. And I don't know really how to let my hair down and be goofy and things like that because I've always had to be on top of my game and have everything done before my parents got home and do good at school. And it was just, I don't know, I feel like I've been a grown up forever.
Yeah, that makes so much sense with your Saturn placement. I mean, you couldn't have described that more accurately. Saturn right on the fourth house cusp, the IC in Virgo. Yeah, that's someone who carries responsibility, has to grow up quickly, becomes dependable because life requires it of you. Sometimes it feels like you've been carrying the emotional weight of your family for a very long time or had to step into being the adult at a very young age. Literally, this is in the notes that I wrote, is like the story that you basically just told for that placement. So that makes all the sense in the world. But also, our Saturn reminds us where we have mastery over time. So Saturn's gift here is building incredible strength, maturity, and resilience at a young age. And not everyone is as mature as you were at a young age. You matured quickly, which has given you, I believe, a strong foundation and a toughness to face what life brings. And when Saturn is so prominent in the fourth, life generally becomes kinder and gentler as you age. Kinder and gentler as you age. This is like intense lessons the younger you are. Yeah. And with that, you become the fountain of wisdom and empathy for those around you who may be going through something similar that you did. It's going through the harder things typically when you're younger and life becoming more gentle as you grow older, for sure.
Yeah. And don't forget to do the fun things. Pull in the play. Mm-hmm. What do you do for fun?
My idea of fun is audiobooks, old-fashioned physical books, binge-watching series, Netflix and chill, podcasts, all solo things, hey?
Yeah. Girl, we could be best friends. One of my closest friends and I share space in the same room, both reading. That's one of our ways that we hang out. We both have a book and we just are in the same space and just quiet, have some gentle music on, light a candle and hang out and both read.
Yeah. Fun is different for everyone.
Yeah, to Jody's point. The more you embrace what is fun for you and what feels cozy and delicious and delightful. And I don't know if you have a way that you self-express at home too. Obviously, learning and reading and watching is all fun, but I don't know if there's anything creative that you play with. I don't know, a little bit of watercolor or like any experimentation with creativity, whatever that looks like for you. It doesn't have to be art, but something creative.
What about dance? Do you dance at all?
2 left feet. I refuse to throw my good name away on the dance floor. I will not do it. No.
You could do it in the privacy of your own home. I'm just thinking dancing is very fire element. Leo, it's very in line with Leo. So if you were looking for ways to pull that in, that might be something.
At home, when no one could see you, I was just dancing like a fool last night at home. My husband was away. I had my headphones and I was just letting loose. And in my mind, I went, I'm sure glad no one can see me right now. But man, was I having fun.
Yes. And that's almost part of it because you've always had to be responsible. And when that happens is we are taught to dull our flame. We're taught to keep it down. Don't be too loud, too fun. And for some of us, it's not really who we are, but it is one way to express that and start bringing that out, even if it is in the privacy of your own homes.
Yes. And I would say embrace looking a little bit foolish sometimes. Like you said, yeah, but I don't want to look, but I would say for you, embrace looking a little bit foolish sometimes if it lights up your heart. If it's like a genuine, kind of want to bust loose right now. Like, yeah, it might look a little foolish, but I would say embrace that.
Okay, so I have twin nieces. They are 6 years old. And that's the only time I'm comfortable being a goofball is when I'm with them. We are incredibly close. So when I do see them and we play piggyback game and feel comfortable and safe and at peace with them, I just love them wholeheartedly. And that's the only time I really couldn't care less about what any other adults around me would say or think of me because I just operate on their level and it's good to appreciate the time with them.
That is perfect. That is
Mhm.
absolutely perfect. Children teach us to be present. They teach us to play. They teach us to have fun. And Leo loves children. So that is a great way to pull in that Leo fire, spending time with your nieces.
Leo is the inner child, right? It's remembering. I even have a picture of myself at 5 and 7 out that I look at to try to remember who she was. What did she want? Would she be proud of what I'm doing right now? That's the embodiment of that North Node Leo for you, is like before all the responsibility hit, before you felt the weight of the world on your shoulders, that little joy spark inside of that child, that's the Leo. And so your nieces are teachers. They're teachers for you. They are teaching you how to go find that again within yourself. And I think that is absolutely beautiful and so perfect for your chart. I'm so glad you have them.
I do feel like I'm getting a second chance at my childhood because we play games and board games and card games and all the kind of stuff that I never really do in my teenage years with my friends. I just feel like this is like my second chance, and we just adore each other, and a relationship is so pure, and it's like reliving my childhood.
Yes. What a gift. I just love that.
Too. Yes. Great way to pull in that fun and fire. Kids are good at that. Good at helping us do that.
You have Pluto here in the 5th house in Libra, also retrograde. But to me, this actually suggests profound creative depth within you. Your transformations through life will often be channeled through your creativity, imagination, beauty, symbolism, art, or spiritual exploration. And what you create, like I said, it doesn't have to look like art. It can be any sort of expression, creativity. I even say if someone built a business, that is a creation. It wasn't before and then you made it and now it is, right? That is creation. So creation comes in a lot of different forms. But again, it just tells me one more time, echoing this Leo North Node, this 5th house is your place of transformation. It is that inner child, play, creativity, self-expression. That's the 5th house. This is Leo's natural home. So there's an echo across here. And Pluto is the planet of transformation. That is where you transform. The more you embrace that lightness, the more you embrace self and heart and all the things you're talking about with your nieces, that is actually transforming you into more of what your soul desires for you in this lifetime. More play, more softness. Do you have anything to add to that about Pluto, Jody?
No, I thought you said it wonderfully. I mean, you already mentioned it's retrograde. So again, some of that's going to be more internal.
It doesn't mean it has to be for anyone else. If you create something, the world may never see it. And that's okay for you because things are so internal and about self-exploration. It doesn't have to be this big showy thing. It's for you. It's for your own inner transformation. And if you do allow others to see that part of you, yes, it can have a profound effect on them and help them open up in those ways too. But there's no requirement here for your creativity to be on a stage or shown in any way. That's self-exploration for you. And it's a gift to your own inner transformation for sure.
Okay, so I don't know if this would count, but in terms of my profession, I'm a drawer technician. So what I essentially do is we take empty spaces or spaces in people's homes and we start from scratch and we build a new kitchen, new master bedroom, closet, and see my work from paper, the 3D visual representation, to actually being physically manufactured and installed, and then to see the video of it come to life in our customers' homes. That's rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that we see that kind of echoed here with your Mercury in Pisces, which is very creative. It loves beauty and art and design, all those types of things. And it sits here right next to your midheaven, which rules your career. So that definitely is an outlet of creativity for you, of self-expression. And you love beauty. Both of these are Libra placements. And so in your home and in your creativity, you love to make beautiful spaces. You like aesthetically pleasing things. There's an emphasis on really enjoying beauty. And so designing homes makes so much sense for you. It echoes kind of this area down here as well as your midheaven in Pisces. And also too, with that Pisces, there's a sense of what you're giving to your client is that beauty and that sense of this will be your safe space. right? If it's someone's personal home, that gift and that care, giving that to others, that's that Piscean signature. And I was just going to touch on your finances quickly because you had mentioned something about that. With Mercury ruling your chart and sitting near the midheaven, it suggests to me that your mind and your creativity are your strongest assets. Communication, design, teaching, your technical skills, creative problem solving with your South Node there. So those are places where you really shine. So I wouldn't be surprised if your long-term financial growth comes from expanding beyond simply just working hard for someone else, but also finding ways to let your own talents become more visible. And your second house of actual possessions, finances, etc., is ruled by Cancer, and your moon rules Cancer, and that's in Libra in the fourth house. So there's a real sense of the more soft and nurturing and caring and expressive you are, the more your financial foundations solidify. What would you say about that, Jody?
Yeah, I would agree. And then I usually look at the second house, the sixth house, and the 10th house, which are all in water element.
Water.
And again, water is very intuitive, spiritual, emotional. Second house ruled by the moon, which again is emotions. And I know you're into astrology and you believe in past lives. So I'm assuming you're into all sorts of spirituality. So what comes to mind for me is maybe it's not your main career, but it could be a side career or a little hobby that you dabble in, and maybe that pulls in some financial stability. I mean, your whole chart says share your story and share with people the lessons you've learned. And it gives you freedom, like that freedom. Uranus in the sixth house, the moon. So maybe you're doing Zoom from home online with people sharing your story.
Definitely. You have any other questions, Janey, before we close here?
Nothing really pops at the moment. I think I'm pretty comfortable with where we are at the moment. And I'm sure when I listen to the replay, there'll be so many other nuggets that I would almost be like listening with like fresh ears, and then I'll get more insight on things.
Yeah. And if you have questions, you can always email us too.
Yes. Feel free to reach out if anything does come up after the fact. Definitely. Well, I'll just give my little summary of kind of what I see as a whole in the chart. Your chart tells me that your soul came here with great courage, knowing that you would have the strength to move through challenges in order to discover that your greatest joy ultimately comes through allowing your voice, your gifts, and your heart to shine and take up space in the world. Your soul came in knowing that there were some lessons that it had to move through in order to find that liberation and that heart essence of self. That's kind of like the summary of the chart as a whole.
Yeah, I love that. I usually put together a little report. So I put one together for you. I'll email that over. Also, it just kind of gives you a little overview of your sun, moon, rising, the full moon that you're born under, your chart ruler, Saturn, just a quick little report that kind of gives you something tangible. You have this recording, which is great, but I like to look at things. So
Yeah, visuals are helpful.
Yeah.
Oh, and I had one more thing that I wrote in my notes that I just wanted to read verbatim. I think it's important. I think it's a powerful visual. I had written that your chart doesn't ask you to keep pushing the boulder uphill forever, because a little bit in some of the responses that you gave, that's kind of how it felt to me, is like you feel like you're just from a young age through many difficult things that you're just pushing the boulder uphill, right? But instead, it asks you to stop believing that carrying the boulder is your identity, because so much of what has happened to you and your past life story, it could feel like that's who I am, that's how I am. I just keep working harder and harder and pushing, and I have to carry all this weight. But that's not who you are. It's not your identity. And I think that is what the chart is saying as well. As you move towards your North Node, I think life gradually becomes less about survival and more about self-expression, connection, joy, and allowing yourself to receive, not just give, not always be the one to carry everything and hold everything and keep pushing and pushing. So to not let carrying the boulder be your identity. That was it.
Thank you for that. I truly appreciate that. Can I ask you one question before you guys leave? When you look at my chart, it gives really my path for me to be doing this life on my own so much without actual support or any of that. Because I feel like I shoulder a lot of stuff on my own a lot of the time. And I'm just wondering, is this what I chose for this life was this my adventure to come in here. I am Wonder Woman. I got this. I don't need anyone. Watch me win. Throw me what you got. Overachiever. Telling my spirit guides, no, I don't want just 3 challenges. Come on, that's a beginner level. Let me go straight to tertiary. Give me the higher education now. One time, let's get this thing on the road, because that's what it feels like to me. It feels like some people are here in a holiday life. I just look at them and they have such minor setbacks to deal with, and everything always just goes their way. And there's a whole army of people there to solve their problems and do things to them and take care of them. And then there's me, and what on earth was I thinking? Who did I think I was, and why did I choose this test me, Lord, test me package?
Well, it's funny that you say that, because I was just having that conversation with a friend a few days ago about that we do have absolute autonomy and free will choice. And that includes our higher self and our soul when we plan for a life that we're going to come into. And it's very easy from that perspective to want to take a lot on because you want to accomplish a lot and you're ambitious and courageous. And again, I see a very courageous soul. Someone who, she a baddie, like she decided that this life was a life where you're going to take on some big lessons and some extra challenges. And yes, you're right. I do believe that some souls choose more of a vacation style life, but that doesn't mean that they haven't had their challenge. It might be coming off the heels of a life that they chose big challenges and they want to take a step back and I'm just going to experience some more ease and see what that's like. But ultimately, it's all about experience. When we're in it, it's very easy to go, why would I do this? This is insane. But it's all about experience. Your soul wanted to experience some of these things. And on the other side too, there's a gift and a shadow to everything. And when you have a really, really easy breezy life and everything's just kind of going your way, how do you grow? How do you evolve? How do you take in more experience? Everything's just sailing right along. So our soul ultimately is desiring experience across the whole board. And yet we continue to have free will choice. And so there is nothing about your chart that says you are fated to continue to do things on your own, be by yourself, carve out everything with your own 2 hands, and so on and so forth. That may have been the pattern up until now, and your soul may have signed up for, and I see some challenge here, right? Especially with a grand cross like this. You said, I'm going to take on some things, but that does not have to be your future. You get to make choices and say, thank you. I have received what I need to receive from this pattern. I have learned from this pattern. And now I would like to release this and call in something different for myself. I'm going to put myself in the vibration of, I don't have to do this alone anymore. I will have support in my life. Loving people will come into my life. Supportive people will come into my life. There's a certain amount of claiming that we can do for our life and to live as if that were true today. Instead of, like I said, don't have your identity be the girl who pushes the boulder up the hill by herself. Maybe go into a vision space, envision you pushing that boulder up a hill. And then, wait a second, someone came along on my right, someone's on my left, someone's pushing behind me. I have people who are helping me, right? This does not have to continue to be your pattern simply because it has been your pattern, because you've learned, now you're aware, and now you can choose whatever you want for your future is kind of what I'm saying. You are not fated to be the girl who was always pushing the boulder up the hill by herself.
Yeah. Sometimes we get severely independent because we've been let down by people so much. Then we don't even give people the opportunity to let us down. We're like, oh, that's all right. I can do it myself. I don't need anybody else to do it for me, which is true. You don't need anyone else to do it for you. But it does really lighten the load when we can put down that weight of taking it all on ourselves and allowing people to help. And again, those right people will come along. And I'm going to go back to talking about meditation and breath work, because ultimately it comes down to doing our own inner work. And looking at your chart, you have lots of air element. What that means is that, and you said it without saying it earlier, like you listen to podcasts, you read, you do all this learning and listening, and your mind is always going. I imagine you wake up with your mind starts running before you probably get out of bed. You wake up with a song in your head. With people who have a lot of air element, their brain does not shut off. Gemini rules the lungs. And so breath work helps because it is really hard to meditate, to quiet the mind, especially if you have a lot of air element. So I say breath work because that kind of takes your mind off. I'm meditating and you're focusing on the breath. And it's never a solid 5 minutes that you're going to not think of anything. Think of it as little dips into that stillness. And even 5 minutes a day can change your life. I'm somebody who went from I cannot meditate and I am still practicing. But let me tell you, when I take that 5 or 10 minutes a day to just sit down, and I usually pick a YouTube video to guide me through it because that works better for me. Breath work, again, helps you anchor into the breath versus thinking. But just 5 or 10 minutes a day can just make a world of the difference. And again, that's going back to that self-work, working on you for you. And then the people will come along. So not necessarily romantic partnerships and relationships, but friendships. And then you'll find those people that you will build that trust up with, where you can kind of let go of some of that responsibility and allow someone to help you. Because when you've been helping yourself for so long, it is hard to break that habit.
And I just wanted to echo exactly what you're saying, Jody, because we didn't talk a lot outside of the relationship pattern about your Uranus in Scorpio in the 6th house. And the 6th house is how we work, the way in which we work, our daily routines, our habits, and our health. And for you, I see with Uranus in Scorpio here that your daily routines really are asking you to do that, to incorporate deep psychological work into your daily routine, whether that be through meditation or breath work or something. The alchemy that you're doing, the deep work that you're doing has to be woven into your routine with purpose so that you're meeting yourself in that deep place every day, really, with that Scorpio ruler. And ultimately with Uranus, that's where change happens. Uranus is where change happens. And with you, that happens deep in your deep psyche, but it has to be purposeful. It has to be built into your routine. Yeah, that's just what I see there with that Uranus and Scorpio in the 6th, kind of adding to what Jody said. It's really important for your growth to weave that into your routine.
Okay, I will definitely attempt the breath work again. I will just go to YouTube and start some beginner one.
You said, I want to change my life. That's where it all starts. That's the motivator. That's the fire. That's the push that says, I'm going to put the work in. I'm going to put the effort in, because it starts from that spark of desire. And yeah, baby steps. You don't have to go hardcore with it. Take 5 minutes of your day to start, but just try to make it consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to sound ungrateful. I'm very fortunate in the sense that I have a stable job that I've been in for many years. I'd like to say I'm quite good at what I do. I have my own car. My parents have left me a roof over my head. So in the grand scheme of things, I don't want to say that I'm ungrateful, but I want more. I want things to be with a sense of ease, flow, as opposed to me having to strive, work flat out to, I just like to excel and grow and have a little bit extra to do fun things, watch a movie or have coffee with a friend. And it shouldn't have to come a little bit extra. But in terms of the grand scheme of things, most people in the world, a lot of my needs are met. And I'm very grateful to have a home that I love being in. And it is my safe space. So I'm just putting it out there because I don't want the universe to now say, look at this girl. We've blessed her with so much and look at her. So no. I am acknowledging that I am very blessed, but I just feel that it's a challenge after challenge and it's consistent hard work, a constant grind. And I just want a little bit of ease and flow and to be able to just breathe a bit easier, without all of the constant stress and pressure and having work in order to keep where I am.
Well, I think starting with gratitude, that's a universal language that the universe speaks, is gratitude, because gratitude takes us straight to openness, right? Everything opens instead of being contracted. So if you do try to go into meditation, start with gratitude and thank yourself, source, the universe, whatever it is, for all of the blessings. And then shift into, instead of I don't want this anymore. I don't want that. I don't want to have to be fighting. I don't want.
switch into the I want space, the things that you desire, more ease in my life, more support in my life, a little extra so I don't have to be in scarcity anymore. And instead of saying I want, imagine exactly what that would feel like. The perfect life, your perfect life of ease and friendship and relationship that's supportive and loving. Literally feel in your body. What would that feel like? Oh, everything starts to relax a little bit. My stomach untenses. Oh, I'm slowing my breathing. Oh, life is just easier. Things flow to me easily. And sit in that mind space as if it were your life right now, today, in this moment, as if that is your life. And do that once a day. And start to see your life change. Because the more we say, I want, the universe simply responds to the state that we're in. If you're in a state of want, the universe says, okay, here's more want. Like you're in a wanting state. So wherever your focus is, the universe is quite literal in that way. It's not going to read the nuance because it's energy, right? It's all energetic. Our intelligence and consciousness has a lot of nuance. We understand nuance within that. But when you're talking about pure energy, there is no nuance. It is quite literal. And so to be in a state of lack or a state of want or not want, you're just going to get more of the same. So that's an exercise. And again, your higher self, source, all that is, knows the desires of your heart. And to just be in that gratitude state and to hold yourself in that state of, I have all that I want. My life is easy. Money flows to me with ease. I have beautiful relationships in my life. I am supported. I have all that I need. Claiming those statements. And the more that you do it and the more that you actually imagine you living that life, the easier it gets. And just watch what starts trickling into your life when you do that. I have a sign next to my bed that I painted that says, I believe that something wonderful is going to happen to me today. And I try to say it every morning. I believe that something wonderful is going to happen to me today, and really believe it. And then every night, I believe something wonderful is going to happen to me tomorrow.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. And these are all the things that you can pull in through meditation. Again, I suggested to start with breath work, but then you could do affirmations. You can really anchor into your money beliefs, because I truly believe that the way we were brought up and what we were taught about money, sometimes we keep ourselves stuck in that. So there's meditations out there just saying something like, I'm abundant. Money comes to me easily. And not just money, but abundance. So abundance comes to me easily. But I would just encourage you to just commit to doing 5 minutes a day for, I don't know, what did it say, 21 days to create a habit.
Yeah.
But then you'll find that you're just going to feel better if you do it, even if you sit there for those 5 or 10 minutes and feel like nothing happened. I usually wear headphones and an eye mask, blocking out all distractions. My brain isn't enough of a distraction.
Okay, got it. But I also have a brain like that. I am always on the go. Even when I'm working, I have my headphones on at my desk and I'm listening to a podcast or I'm listening to an audiobook and I'm working. If I'm doing chores at home, I'm taking in a podcast. I'm learning something new while I'm achieving my goals.
Girl, same. All the time. And it is a challenge for me because I have an earbud in all the time. I listen to 100 audiobooks a year. I take in so much information, but I have to stop myself, and it's uncomfortable at first. I resist it. I don't want to sit in quiet without distractions. It feels horrifying at first. My little brain is like, don't stop. I need input. But there is a literal, what I describe as like this wall that you break through. Because when I first tried to sit into meditation, I'm uncomfortable and I'm twitchy and I'm irritated and my brain is going a million miles an hour and it feels kind of awful. And then I just keep trying to come back to the breath. And there's this moment where I almost feel like, oof, I just broke through a wall. Silence, peace. But it takes work to get there. But once you hit that spot, that's what your nervous system craves. But we just pile on distraction for so long that it's just almost like this frenetic pace of input. And our body is uncomfortable because it's used to one thing. And if you're doing one thing all the time, your body's like, no, this is normal. This is not normal. Silence, stillness, what? But that's where that breakthrough happens. And it's important to wait until the discomfort subsides to find that peace spot.
Yeah, that's definitely the lesson. And your spiritual growth can jump by leaps and bounds when you really practice meditation. I can't lecture more on it because I also resisted for many years. And I was like, that was self-torture. Why didn't I just do this? Because it makes such a difference.
It is a real gift to yourself, even if you feel like it's so uncomfortable and something you don't want to do and whatnot. Just trust us when we say it is a gift to yourself to buckle down and do it. It really is. It'll change your life.
It's just when you used to being good at everything that you do. And then comes breath work and meditation. And now I'm quite good at it. So you're like, okay, I excel at everything else that I apply my mind to. So clearly this is not for me. But I'm going to flip the switch and I'm going to change my mindset and I'm going to commit to 5 minutes. I'm being realistic. I will commit to 5 minutes a day.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, the universe responds to literal, and you sound crazy to yourself until you don't anymore. And all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, this is my reality. So yeah. We're going to wrap up here. It was so great to meet you. Great to talk with you. I hope you got something out of this. I hope that you gained some clarity, some empowerment.
Yes. Thank you so much. It was fun.
And wish you ladies every success with your podcast and with all your other endeavors. I hope doors open for you and you achieve all that you set out to achieve. I really feel that you deserve a far bigger audience than you get. And I think in your personal life, you need to rally up all your immediate cousins, uncles, uncle-in-laws, everybody, neighbors, third house down the road, and, give them a kick up the butt. I truly believe that you guys deserve a far bigger audience. I mean, look, I'm in South Africa. I'm on the other side of the world, and I found you. So what's wrong with your neighbors?
Oh, bless you. That was so sweet and encouraging, and that means a lot to my heart.
Yeah.
And so thank you. Oh, gosh. We appreciate you. We appreciate you being a listener. And yeah, we hope that the podcast continues to grow, and I believe it will. And it is. It is growing. That's what we'll claim. It is growing. Well, much love to you.
Thank you very, very much. I truly appreciate you, ladies. And like I said, I wish you everything of the best.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, Janey.
Okay, good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us under the stars today. We hope you're leaving feeling inspired, grounded, and more connected to your inner truth. And if you loved this episode, we would be so grateful if you would subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone you love. If you're ready to explore your soul's path through psychological, evolutionary astrology, and personal astrological coaching, you can find Mari at yoursoulpurposeastrology.com or follow her on Instagram and Facebook at yoursoulpurposeastrology. And if you're ready to illuminate your birth chart and explore how essential oils can support your emotional and energetic alignment, you can find Jody at earthandskyessentials.com or at Earth and Sky Essentials on Facebook and Instagram. And remember, your soul is always guiding you. The magic starts within.